Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I can share some of my notes that I took. So there's like three main characters. Kiyama, Yamashita, and Kawabi is how I would pronounce it. They're 12-year-old boys, and this takes place like in Japan in a small town, like with friends and family, and then people they go to school with. So they were finishing up sixth grade and they are free from studies, but they go to a cram school, which is where students go to prepare for tests like entry exams for junior high, high school, and college. This is also kind of from Kiyama, that's the best I'm gonna say it. From his perspective, so yeah, the setting was like a Japanese town, and the three boys begin to spy on their elderly neighbor, who they think is going to die soon. They are infatuated with the thought of death and what death brings and what happens after death, so they decide to kind of spy on him like all together and like see what he does and like what his lifestyle is. And like a big thing about it too was like how there's like not really people to take care of you once you're older. So the more time they spend spying on him, they actually become friends with him throughout their summertime. They explore the thoughts of having no one to take care of them and what like an old person's life might be like in Japan. He was the old man that they spied on was a World War II veteran with a haunted past, and they tried to make his life a little better. Um, he eventually does die peacefully in his own bed, and the boys were away at soccer camp. And it was through like the loss of him that they realized that like death is like inevitable. And you have those memories from your life and the people you spent it with, like with your loved ones, and the memory like lives on like within the boys is what I took away from the book. So yeah, it like goes through what they think about like grief is and the stages of like denial and the feeling of like them not being home when he died since they spent so much time, like wanting to know what death was, and they were wanted to know what his was like specifically, so they kind of felt resentment or that like idea that they spent all that time and they missed it, but they were glad that it was like peacefully passing for him. So yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, I liked how like what's it called? How like they kind of like the way they met him was like spying on him to see him die, but like how they eventually like became friends and like they were like in the beginning they were like happy because they were like, oh, we're gonna see him die, but like towards the end, it's like they were sad about it. It's like more bittersweet. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
I
feel
think
like
it's a great plot, yeah.
yeah.
And like I looked it up too, like I guess it's was translated into English, and some people think like it is like at an adult reading level, like which it could be taken as, but it is, even when I looked up the book like on Amazon, like for purchasing it, it shows that it's actually for like students to read, which was interesting. Like you wouldn't think that like young kids would be introduced to like a book about death, but like yeah, it is inevitable and death
Mhm.
happens. So it's interesting to see that it's for like a younger audience for sure.
Yeah, I know when I was looking it up too, like I saw like a review on it, or like the reviews, it was like, oh, it's meant for like students, but I feel like students, like younger students, wouldn't really understand the plot of it. So
Hmm.
it'd be like better for like older people to read.
Right. Or like the age they were in the book, like they were 12, like finishing sixth grade and like gonna go to junior high. But it
Yeah,
is
no,
a
because I'm like, I work with sixth graders right now, and I'm like, if they read this, they would not. They'd be like, oh yeah, well, like whatever. If someone died at the end.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's where I'm like, well, maybe it is like I would think it would be for an older audience for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting though because these kids are like really like interested about death. Like they actually want to go and see his like corpse.
Yeah, they wanted
which
to
I
take
thought,
his body.
yeah, which I thought was really interesting. And then at the end, they actually like learned pretty valuable lessons about life through the old man, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think they got like more out of it than they thought they were. Like, yeah, they were interested in
Yeah.
like the death and like I read that too, like they were interested in literally seeing like a dead body and
Yeah.
the emotions with that. But I think, yeah, they definitely got more out of it. I mean, it teaches you a lesson too, like you get what you get when you like creep on someone, like you're spying on someone, you're gonna find out way more than you expected too. So that can
Yeah,
tell.
and the older man like tells them that like he's not able to move on to the afterlife until he could find a friend. So that's like I think it's kind of interesting how the boys like agree to be his friend so they could become like closer, and that's how we like get to know his whole like life story and like how he died and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also agree that I think that they're a little fascinated with like the idea of death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of going off of like what Kayla said, just it's interesting to read like in a book, I guess, geared towards kids that it's really important that like the main topics about it was like growth, death, friendship, and love, which are like certain like a lot of them are like heavy topics for like a younger audience. So it's just interesting to see how much like the book is geared towards that and then seeing where it ends up. I thought it was a good story though.
Yeah, like when we had to write like the prediction and stuff, like I thought it was just going to be a book about some friends. Like I had
Yeah.
no idea that it was going to be centered around death.
I thought it would give like the Sandlot vibes.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and like it even shows like their schooling's different. Like I looked up like exactly what like a cram school was. So even going on to summer break, you go and study like for exams and like entry exams. Like a lot of people do that like for private school or like SAT or something like that. So it's interesting that they do it different like in Japan and other places. Does everyone feel like they got their thoughts out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we supposed to also talk about the like assignments for today that are due next Wednesday or no?
I
I
don't
don't think
think
so.
I
so.
didn't really,
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't really get that from his intro video. He kind of just explained every one of them. So it's like watch a video, answer these questions. The next one, um,
yeah. Okay.
PowerPoint and all that. So I don't think we have to talk about it as a group, but just be aware that obviously um it's due. And then he said that we're in person next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then everything's due on March 3rd at 11:59.
Our next book is Bridge to Terabithia, right?
Yes.
That's gonna be longer, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit longer, yeah.
I love that.
I'm like, but there's a movie.
There is a movie too.
I'm sure like there's like a bunch of audiobooks for that one though, because it's like pretty popular.
Yeah.
For sure.
Since the main discussion about the book, should I like stop the recording? Is there
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think
we can stop it. Yeah.
okay. Hopefully it saves.